Greetings, folks. It's Ian at RTO. Welcome to another Saturday special. And of course, it's been a Saturday special. It's my good friend from all the way from Northern Ireland, Mr. Richard McCook. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing very well, Ian, and how are you?
I'm good. My ears are still ringing from the other night, but well, it was an excellent gig, which will come out tomorrow, folks. There are some shorts to give you a snippet, but the highlight show will be on Sunday. Something to look forward to. Anyways, back to business. You know, we've done number ones through the decades. We're going to do our number twos now.
Where you put that?
I know. Well, a bit of carry-on double entendre doesn't hurt on a Saturday, does it? So we're going to start with the decade of the 80s. Apparently, I confused Richard and panicked him because I said 70s on the live stream, but it is the 80s today. So, usual thing, Richard goes first, and then we'll get some bubbly numbers. I've got 4 this time.
Oh, I haven't even made my mind up with the 6 yet. So I haven't even made up with number 1 and number 2, to be honest with you. I'll do it whenever I get there. But yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you start us off then.
Okay, my number 10 is 1 week at number 2 in 1983, and don't laugh, but I love it, and it is Irene Cara's Flashdance, which I think is a great pop song with an even better video, and the soundtrack is actually really good as well, because there's a couple of really excellent songs on that soundtrack. But yeah, whenever you talk about Irene Cara, the only 2 songs I really know are Flashdance and Fame. But for me, Flashdance wins every time. And it takes me back to a certain venue, which is close to home, which I used to go to when I was 17. It was a very small club. Played it a lot. Absolutely love it. So Flashdance gets my number 10.
Yeah, I like that keyboard intro. It's a fantastic bit of keyboard. I remember, was it in the film Full Monty when they show that when they're doing the dancing, when she's welding, when Paula says she hasn't got the mix right. I always remember that. But yeah, it's a great song. I think I'll be fair to fame.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, my number 10 goes to July of 1986. One of my favourite bands, Marillion, and the song Kayleigh. Kept off number 1 by You'll Never Walk Alone by The Crowd, which was the charity thing for the Bradford.
Yes, I remember.
So you don't mind being kept off number 1 by a charity record. At the time, I loved Kayleigh, but as time's gone on, it's a song that I wouldn't go and put on. Oh, God, put Kayleigh on. But it still reminds me of a good time, and it was a good song. And there's lots of girls now being there, 30s called Kayleigh.
That's true. I actually bought that single whenever it came out, believe it or not. I actually bought The Crowd as well, believe it or not, because I liked it too. That's You'll Never Walk Alone, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my number 10.
Yeah, I thought you might choose that. Well, my number 9, you've talked about your favorite, one of your favorite bands. My number 9 is my favorite artist who had 3 number 2 hits in the 80s. But I'm going for 1986 and Absolute Beginners by David Bowie. And it's from a terrible film. Well, I couldn't even get through it. If I watched it now, I might enjoy it. But this is a really great song, especially the full-length version with the guitar intro. It's got an absolutely magnificent saxophone throughout it as well. And to me, it's one of his best ever singles of the 80s and could be pushing for top 10 of all time for Bowie, maybe just outside, but Absolute Beginners, only 1 week at number 2, and it's from 1986, and that's my number 9.
Yeah, excellent track. You know, it's one of the things. It's got the elements of the 80s, but there's a lot of his 70s sound in there, especially with the guitar and the sax. Yeah, it's a terrific song. I'd quite go with that one. My number 9 is from an ex-Beatle, of an album produced by Mr. Jeff Lynne, and it's George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You, which was a cover anyway of a James Ray song from 1962. And it was kept off number 1 by T'Pau's China in Your Hand.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a bit of research in mine. I've been a bit, as I say. Yeah, so yeah, great song. It's a great song anyway. I like the original, but of course, give it to Jeff Lynne and he comes up with something special. And it's George as well. And it's a great song. And Cloud Nine, of course.
Yeah, I enjoy it as well. I think it's a really good song. It's just pity he didn't write it, but still, yeah, it got to number one in America, I believe, as well.
Yes, it did. It was a number one in the US, but only managed to. Yeah.
Shakin' Stevens actually covered it as well in his 2002 album or his 2000s album. It's dreadful, so it is. So no, good choice. Well, my number 8 is again 1986 for 1 week, and it was written by Prince under the name Christopher, and it's the Bangles' Manic Monday. And I think this is just a perfect pop song. I love the Bangles, I really do. I think they're fantastic. And this is the one that really brought the fame to them because they had a couple of one very minor hit with Going Down to Liverpool the year before. It was then re-released and it was another minor hit. But yeah, I think Manic Monday is just a perfect pop song with a perfect lead singer in Susanna Hoffs. So that gets my number.
Yeah, so that album really brought them to the front, didn't they? Especially over here it's got Walk Like a Egyptian on it as well, and that was a popular. Yeah, good choice, excellent choice. I love the Bangles as well. Always have and always will, I think. Okay, my number 8. We've just mentioned his name, Shakin' Stevens, but this goes back to 1981, and it was "You Drive Me Crazy," which I love.
I love it as well.
But you know what? But what kept it off number 1 was Adam and the Ants, Stand and Deliver.
Oh well, it didn't deserve to get to number 1 now.
No, if it was Stand and Deliver, but it's a great it's a great track.
Yeah,
one of his best songs, I think.
Totally agree. I like Shakin' Stevens singles, I really do. I have a few of his albums, and they're not that bad. But it is really the singles. The greatest hits is really all you need. Well, my number 7, and we go to the last year of the 80s in 1989. And for 1 week, it's the Beautiful South song for Whoever. And this is the one where it's a dual lead vocal with Paul Heaton and Dave Hemingway. And it's a very, very clever song. It really is. It's about writing a song about breakups and so forth to get a hit. And Jennifer Allison, Philippa Sue, absolutely brilliant lyrics, very witty, but it's all done in a really nice sort of low tone piano ballad, and it's beautiful. But it is actually quite a scathing song, and I just think it's a very, very clever song, and it gets my number 7. 1 week in 1989.
Yeah, it was a really good song, that was, and it was different, wasn't it, for them? Because normally you'd get Paul with either, with the girls, but to have up to the two guys, wow, yeah. And I thought that was a good song. I really like that song. Okay, then. My number 7 goes to January 1984, and it's someone that I saw at our Balloon Festival in Northampton in the summer. Howard Jones. What is Love? And his guitarist was Robin Bolt, who's played with everybody, but most known for being part of Fish's band. Yeah, love that song. It's just a great 80s pop song. I think he's a very talented. He was a very talented guy, Howard Jones.
I loved the debut new song. I thought it was catchy,
catchy as well. And he was kept off number 1 by Pipes of Peace, Paul McCartney.
Well, that's not a bad song either, to be honest with you. It's good. No. Well, my number 6, and I have put a £50 bet on with Paddy Power that this is going to be your number 1. I'm only joking, but I do think it may be your number 1 or your number 2. And this is the sort of song that should never have been. If you want to have a hit, don't release this song. But for some reason, it did so well and got to number 2 for 1 week in 1982, and it's Dire Straits' Private Investigations. I think it's an absolutely blinding track from Love Over Gold. You know, it's not a song you would dance to. It's not a song you would really rock out to, but it just gets me. I just love it, and I play it loud every time I hear it with that bass and then the crashing piano. Fantastic, and the beautiful like acoustic guitar. I think it might even be a Spanish guitar. I'm not sure, but brilliant song, and it's my number 6, Private Investigations by Dire Straits.
I'm glad you didn't put any money on it
Oh, right, okay.
because it didn't even get in my top. As much as I love the track, I only like the live version best. The single version lacks something.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, my number 6. Now this band, this song must gut them because it stayed at number 2 and there was another number 1 and something jumped over it and that stayed at number 2. It goes to 1981 and the song is Vienna by Ultravox. I just love that song. It was out when I was in hospital as a kid, so it was played on the radio a lot, and I just loved it. Initially, it was kept off number 1 by John Lennon's Woman, which you can't deny, but it's the one that jumped them to get to number 1, and it's that awful "A Shed Your Face," which how the hell did that rubbish get to number 1? I don't know. It's awful. And poor old Vienna had to stay at number 2 because of that junk.
Yeah, it's a great song. I won't say too much about that one. So my number 5 is Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Say, Say, Say from 1983. 2 weeks at number 1. And I think
number 2?
That's what I meant. 2 weeks at number 2. And I think it's brilliant. I think the video of it is brilliant as well. And there is like a remix version of it where I think they swap the vocals and Michael sings Paul's bits, and that's not as good. But this one is so well produced by George Martin. It's just an absolutely brilliant song. And that's all I can say. It's from the Pipes of Peace album, which I think is a brilliant album. But yeah, number 5, Paul and Michael, Say, Say, Say.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant track. That's one of his best duos he ever did.
That is his best duo for me, without a shadow of a...
Okay, my number 5 is from January 1981. There's quite a few from January 1981. And it's the one that starts Ant Music by Adam and the Ants.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's a great song. I mean, I love the album Kings of the Wild Frontier. It's just an incredible album, and I love it because of the double drum. It takes me back to Wizard and the Glitter Band and Shawaddy Waddy, and they just took it on. I mean, obviously, that's Bow Wow Wow, technically, isn't it? So, yeah, kept off the top by Imagine John Lennon. So a lot of these are kept off the top spot by great songs anyway.
The thing about music is, and Adam and Ants in general, I thought they were a breath of fresh air to the pop charts. With Dog Eat Dog, Ant Music, Stand Deliver, Kings of the Wild Frontier, I thought they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I'm not going to say too much about that one either.
Oh, I'm sure you won't.
Well, my number 4 is my backup for your number 1 choice. And this must be in your top 3. It has to be. And it's from 1980, 2 weeks at number 2. It's Status Quo, What You're Proposing, which I think is a magnificent track. I've always loved it. Okay, they don't go beyond their capabilities or anything like that there. It is like a Quo song, but it is so, so catchy. And the bit it actually got in my top 5 Quo singles of all time, along with another one from that album, Lies, which I think is every bit as good, but didn't do as well, number 11, I think. But What You're Proposing, I just absolutely love it. You know, get the head down. I don't have hair, but if I did, I'd be head banging my way to it. So that's my number 4.
And we'll talk about that later.
I thought we might.
Okay. My number 4 is a very significant record for me. This was the first record I heard, and I woke up in the hospital for the first time. I'd never stayed in hospital overnight, so I was what, 14, big thing. And the first record that came on the radio was this one, Kids in America, Kim Wilde.
All right. Yeah. Good choice.
Yeah, and I just love it, and it sort of it have got memories of that hospital. Not a good time, but that record sort of was a great record. Kept off #1 by Shaking Stevens, This Old House.
I love it as well, though.
The thing is, there were so many great records in the charts in the 80s that, what, I was a rock man, but I loved the charts in the early 80s. Some great stuff. But yeah, Kids in America.
No, good choice. Really good choice. Well, my number three you've already mentioned, and it's Ultravox Vienna, 4 weeks at #2. And yes, it is a shame it didn't get there. But I think it's actually got famous because of it. Whenever people say, what about #2s? It should have been #1. The first most people say in Britain is Ultravox Vienna. If I had have got to #1, would people think, as highly of it as they do now? But yeah, absolutely brilliant song, brilliant video as well. And it's from a decent album. It's a pretty damn good album. And the
Yeah.
follow-up was good, which was All Stood Still. And it was a great song too. So it gets my number three.
Yeah, I mean Ultravox, when you think about that album, that's when they brought Midge on board, and he totally changed.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the John Fox era, but Midge just took them to the next level. It's a great album, the Vienna album. Okay, my number three is from 1987. And I remember the first time I heard this was on a TV program, and I thought, oh, I love that. So I went and brought it. It's Jan Hammer's Crockett's theme from
All right.
Miami Vice. I just absolutely adore that tune. I mean, Jan Hammer's a great musician, so and the scene of it, if you see on the TV, it's a great bit with Crockett and driving around. I love that song. I just love it to bits. Again, kept off the top place by another good song. You Win Again, the Bee Gees.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love it. No, good choice.
Excellent track.
Well, my #2 and my #1, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep it as it is. My #2, 1 week in 1983 for Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. I think it's a fantastic song. And those were the days Eurythmics were really good, when they were more synthy. Whenever they got more guitar-y with things like Would I Lie to You, I didn't think they were as good. But remember hearing 1983 Sweet Dreams and Love is a Stranger, which was actually 82, and that was reissued. I thought they were brilliant, and they take me back to that place as well, the same as Irene Cara's Flashdance. Constantly played. There was a place called the Cashland Do in Port Stewart, which was a very small sort of restaurant downstairs, and then a very small sort of club upstairs, but really small. And it was brilliant. And I've always loved Sweet Dreams, and that gets me #2.
Okay, my number two from February 1981, so it's all at the same sort of time. Off his first solo album, and it's got the best drum roll ever invented. Boom, 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 boom. I can feel it. Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. An outstanding track. Kept off #1 by John Lennon again, Woman.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's some really great. Okay, they deserved the Lennon songs deserved it, but they wouldn't have been #1 if he hadn't been killed.
No,
basically.
I think they'd have been. I mean, that would have got to #1 if John hadn't been murdered. So and I think it still stands time today. It's just, and people try and copy that drum.
Yeah.
There's only one man that'll ever play that. I know his son can play it. Nick's good at it, but not as good as Dad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Dad can't play it anymore, though.
No, Dad can't. But it's just, I think it's just that unique drumming style that Phil had that really, when he used to do the roll round the kit, he just had a knack to do it, and he was the best at it, I think.
Good choice. Well, that means my number one, you know what it is. 2 weeks at number one. Actually, in 1981, it was released at the end of 1980, and it's Adam and the Ants and Ant Music, which, as I said earlier, is a breath of fresh air, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. The follow-up to the even better Dog Eat Dog, but Ant Music was a catchier type song, and I just loved it. And it was that song really that started Ant Mania, because the next single was a reissue of Kings of the Wild Frontier, which also got to number two. I nearly chose it actually, and then Stan delivering Prince Charming. But absolutely brilliant song and a really, really good band, Adam the Ants. Okay, the first album was a different band and they all went off to form Bow Wow Wow. But the second band released two great albums, Kings of the Wild Frontier and Prince Charming, even though the bass player had changed. But still, brilliant song, and it gets my number one from 1980.
I'm keeping that in because that's quite funny. I've got that sinking feeling.
Right, okay.
There we go. Sorry, folks. Anyway, my number one, I think you know.
Yes, I do.
1, 2, 3, 4. Dum dum dum. Yeah, catchy as hell.
It is catchy, really catchy.
It's probably the only Status Quo song that hasn't really got a guitar solo in it. As such, from a brilliant album. Just supposing it's one of my favourites. A lot of people poo-poo it, but to me, it's still a new Quo album, although it came out in 1980. But yeah, kept off the top spot though by Barbra Streisand, "Woman in Love."
That's another brilliant song.
Brilliant song, but it should have been Quo. No, I love that song. That album's just got catchy rock pop songs on it, because that's what they are. They move with the times and they did it brilliantly. Them two albums, Never Too Late and Just Supposing, pretty solid, all recorded at the same time. Yes, okay. That's my top 10. So have you decided on your bubbling unders then?
Well, if you're having four, I'm having four.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so my four are from 1985, 1 week at number two, and I actually got to number six in 1984, way earlier in the year. And it's Holiday by Madonna, which I think is Madonna's best ever song. I also have in 1983 for 2 weeks, another female singer, Tracy Ullman, and They Don't Know, written by Kirsty MacColl. I'm going to go with The Stranglers, Golden Brown, 2 weeks in 1982, which was kept off the top by A Town Called Malice by The Jam. And the last one is a bit of a disco song, which I think is brilliant, and it's Lips Inc. Funky Town, 2 weeks in 1980. I love it. So those are my four bubbling unders. I have two more, which I might sneak in at the end after you.
Okay. Well, my first one's from July 82, the summer of 82. Steve Miller's Abracadabra.
Good song.
Kept off the top by Happy Talk, Captain Sensible. How the hell that didn't get to number one, I don't know, because it's absolutely brilliant. My next one is Chaz and Dave.
Ain't No Pleasing You.
Yeah, I love that. That's from 1982. Bucks Fizz kept them off the top. My Camera Never Lies.
Love it.
Yeah, it's just brilliant stuff. My next one, May 1982. Yazoo, Only You.
Good song.
Kept off the top by Nicole's Little Piece because she just won the Eurovision Song Contest. And that's when we had decent songs win the Eurovision.
Yeah.
And my last one is just a little one from a great film that I loved when I was in the 80s. It's Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer. Love that little tune. Kept off the top by Sister Sledge and Frankie.
Was that Axel F from Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah.
I remember that, yeah. Well, I'm throwing two more in anyway because they're written here. And Dionne Warwick, Heartbreaker in 1982, written by the Bee Gees. I love it. And Diana Ross, Upside Down in 1980, produced by Nile Rodgers, which is a great track. So those are my cheaty two.
Yeah. Well, that was great. I thought that was some good songs in there. Great decade for pop music.
Oh, definitely. Especially for me, the first half. The second half, maybe not quite as good. But from 1980 to 1983, I thought was every bit as good as anything in the 70s.
Yeah, religiously watched Top of the Pops. We used to all meet round my mate's house. There was about 9 of us in it because he had a big lounge. We always used to go and pile and watch it round there. It was a ritual.
Oh, no, I loved it. I used to get ready to watch it, and then I had to sit through Tomorrow's World, which was on for half an hour, and it felt like 3.5 hours because it just dragged until you got to Top of the Pops.
Anyway, we are running out of time. So, as usual, we get it in with our half hour. I think next up we'll do the 70s, probably in a couple of weeks' time. If that's
right. Mm-hmm.
So, once again, Richard, it's always a pleasure working with you. And well, I'll be back soon. Don't forget, folks, my T-Rexity highlights will be out tomorrow. So if you're a T-Rex fan, that is a must for you. So only leave me to say it's goodbye for me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Bye.